Hi, I'm Ray.
And I'm Saren.
We're your Spider Baby hosts from To Know Her Is to Fear Her, a Spider-Woman podcast, as well as proud members of the collective.
You're listening to Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks. Enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to make sure you know all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Don't miss out on all new episodes of Wade's World, Boob Windows and Long Boxes, our Hard R movie reviews, and so much more, all completely uncensored. Access starts for as little as $1 a month, full videos when you pledge $3 a month. Check us out at the link in all of our show notes, or just go straight to patreon.com/capesandlunatics. Hope to see you there.
This is Luca Perich, and you're listening to the Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks podcast.
Yeah, whatever. Ben Reilly, Spider-Man's clone. He's the guy. He's got a sweatshirt. Yeah, that's how you know he's different, and he's a blonde hair.
Woo, what a rough month. Anyway, welcome back to another last Tuesday of the month with the Scarlet Pimps. I am Phil, joining me as always at the end of the month, the High Priest of Conchu himself. It is.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, Phil, geez, that last month flew by. But again, back in the web, two Scarlet Pimps. Props out to Matt out there as well. But yeah, getting ready for more Ben Reilly.
Booyah! That's right, kids. Because today, we're covering, some people love it, some people don't love it, but Ben Reilly, you probably know Scarlet Spider Unlimited #1. So, yes, that was the joke, kids, that we were recording this like minutes after we recorded last month. So, yeah, no new Ben Reilly news or Spider-Man news. So,
Exactly. Doesn't change the fact that I still haven't showered since our last recording. Regardless of what would happen either way.
Those smelly foreigners, you know what. So should we just jump into this one? I mean, it's one issue, but it's packed. It's an unlimited issue, and it's only the one story. It's not like some of those other ones we covered that had like backups and stuff in it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it rightly gives a spotlight to Ben. It's his Scarlet Spider #1 Unlimited. There's plenty of stuff here. Sure. Let's get straight into it. Actually, before we say, I always do this, but I've forgotten what had happened to Kaine. We'd covered it in the show, but it was a while since we had. And yeah, I'd forgotten that he got kind of done by the what's it called? Spider Side?
Spider Side,
yeah.
Gun Pale, yeah. I know that it's like big on this cover. It's like, the tomb of Kaine, and meanwhile you only get like, a little bit of Kaine at the beginning and the end. It's like and significantly at the end, I guess, but we'll get to it. But yeah, exactly. This whole thing is like, it's got to be about Kaine, but no, we get a lot more, I think. It's like, was the High Evolutionary not a big draw in 1995? All right, so Scarlet Spider #1. This one from November 1995. It probably came out between what we're gonna do next month and the month after, but I kind of put it here because I think it works. And again, it's
okay.
And those are more linked together. This is kind of like floating off on its own. So. All right, so Scarlet Spider #1, writer Glenn Herdling, penciler Todd Smith, inker John Nyberg, colorist Joe Andriani, letterer Clem Robbins, editor Eric Fien. So really not any really like anyone we're familiar with. I've heard of Glenn Herdling, but we haven't done a ton of his stuff.
Yeah. Can I also just say as well, Phil, it seems like someone has found out about the Gaussian blur effect, because we get that a lot in here. I think they're starting to play with computers, digital effects, so we get a lot of perspective through, like a blur in the distance. It's funny.
Is that like the comic version of like lens flare?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Oh Lord. The title of this one, You Say You Want an Evolution?
Yeah, it's funny. I chuckled at that.
Somebody's a Beatles fan. All right, kids, strap in. It's going to get wild. All right. It opens up 3 weeks ago, 1995. 3 weeks ago, 2 humanoid creatures have located the cryostasis unit that contains the warped spider clone known as Kaine. One of them, named Spinneret, almost opens the unit. However, his associate, Komodo, tells him to keep it closed as the clone inside is clearly in stasis for a reason. And like Ray said, I think we know the reason why he got impaled.
Yeah, yes.
But then it flashes to today, in 1995. The Scarlet Spider finds himself outside the same warehouse and sees that it is swarmed by a crew of authorities and hazmat units. Among those gathered is Jacob Raven. Remember him, kids? But he is barred from going inside. Unwilling to let this stop him, Raven sneaks into the back of a truck and steals a hazmat suit, allowing him to slip into the warehouse unseen. The Scarlet Spider decides to swing in after him, but are stopped by the men in the hazmat suits. They explain that they are with the World Health Organization, and they are trying... Oh, yes, exactly. And they are trying to contain the facility in case it has more of the Jackal's genetic virus that was unleashed on the city of Springville. Oh my. I could just see certain political leaders in the current time being like, yes, it came from the Jackal's lab. It came.
Well, yes, timely.
The Jackal flu, yes, yeah. Let's see. Yes, who... Barred from entering, the web slinger leaps away. As he goes, his spider sense is set off by a group of World Health Organization agents that are entering the building. Inside, the agents have found nothing and are clearing out. This allows Jacob Raven to look around for the secret entrance he has correctly deduced exists here. How would he know this?
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. He's just driven by insanity.
I guess, but it's like, how would he know the Jackal's set up? I don't think he even knows Kaine's a clone. How does he know?
Yes. There must have been a lot of off-panel investigation, Jacob Raven. That's probably something for another day. There's probably a limited series, a 12-parter, Jacob Raven and his investigations. He's learned a lot.
Just a line or two of like, oh, hey, I've studied the blueprints of the building. Hey, it's supposed to, it seems this room seems a little smaller than it's supposed to be. Oh, a door. He discovers the Jackal's lab and finds the containment unit that is holding Kaine. He opens the unit in hopes of shooting Kaine to death, but is pulled away by the man monsters that have set up operations in the facility.
No.
Back outside, the Scarlet Spider has decided to get into the warehouse through the sewers. As he crawls through the tunnels, he thinks about how people neglected to inform Jacob Raven that Kaine was seemingly killed by Spider-Side. Slipped everyone's mind. In the secret...
Yeah, it did.
I mean, probably half the readers are probably like, oh yeah, Jacob Raven, what is...
Yeah, even that guy. If it wasn't for his Mark of Kaine, he probably would not... Some people probably wouldn't remember who the hell he was.
I know.
He had to have some distinguishing feature. Yeah.
I mean, he's pretty much just a plot device to do the trial of Peter Parker, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Kaine didn't, kill him. In the secret lab, Spinneret has wrapped Raven up in a cocoon and are about to deal with him when an alarm warns these creatures that someone else has infiltrated the facility. This intruder is the Scarlet Spider, and he is soon ambushed.
Go Ben.
What?
Go Ben.
Go Ben.
That's what I say, yeah. Yeah.
And is soon ambushed by Spinneret and Komodo as well as their allies Buzzard and Crustacean. Although these so-called Anti-Men have the element of surprise, the Scarlet Spider knocks out the male members of this group. But this leaves him open to attacks from Spinneret and Flying Fox.
God.
Didn't you date her in college? Flying Fox. When Flying Fox tries to drink his blood. Oh, jeez. What is this? A date with Lilith Hellfire? Jeez.
How hard is it?
Oh. It's a bit personal.
Oh, it gets worse, Ray.
Good for that release. Shut up and just lay there. Shut up and just lay there. I can't wait to blow his mind.
Whoa.
Coming out of the bush? Chicks won't
sure this
feel
isn't a
pity for me.
What?
I'm sure this isn't a Patreon only episode.
I'll close.
Chicks won't feel pity for me and bang me.
Here's one you want to hear.
It's a giant-sized man thing.
Oh.
It's a giant-sized man, I guess. We're gonna have to cover one of those just so she.
Oh yeah,
she's just waiting.
She would love.
When Flying Fox tries to drink his blood, the web slinger knocks her away and then strikes Spinneret with his stingers. Slipping away, the Scarlet Spider blocks the pipe with impact webbing. That's right, kids. Impact webbing for the win again.
A couple of balls down the gob.
Yes.
Sealing the Animen from the Jackal's lab. Knowing that he doesn't have much time, the Spider begins accessing the Jackal's computers. He discovers that the Animen have been trying to copy the Jackal's files on cloning in his genetic virus. Okay, all right, let's go back up a little bit. I mean, I guess, like you say, they want people to forget about the Clone Saga, like certain aspects, but why doesn't Peter use impact webbing to this day?
Sorry, doesn't
why wouldn't Peter use impact webbing? You know, from
I know other than Ben Reilly's got a trademark or a copyright issue on it. I don't know. It's a great bit of it. Is great, isn't it? I love it. I love the stingers as well.
Oh yeah,
but
stingers, impact webbing, yeah.
Yeah.
While at the same time, some other source is trying to erase these files. Going through the data, the web slinger is surprised to see that the Spider-Man cloning process is also cross-referenced with the carrion virus.
Ooh.
With his spider sense and the security systems warning him of the Animen's approach, the Scarlet Spider frees Jacob Raven. Unfortunately, Raven is too upset to listen to reason, allowing the Animen to catch up to the web spinner. Komodo's first punch sends the masked hero crashing in the Kaine stasis chamber. Oh, it's getting crazy, kids. When the Scarlet Spider realizes what he is looking at, he demands to know what is going on. Suddenly, a holographic image of the High Evolutionary appears in the room and demands a status report. Informed that they have succeeded in their mission, the High Evolutionary teleports them away. When Crustacean tries to fire a parting shot, the Scarlet Spider fires a web line at the creature, causing him to be teleported away as well. This leaves Jacob Raven unconscious on the floor with the stasis chamber containing Kaine left wide open. The Scarlet Spider finds himself, meanwhile, in the middle of the city of Wundagore, home of the High Evolutionary Newman. Oh, he should have did that at some point. Newman. Realizing that he is in a no-win situation, the Wallcrawler flees the city as the Animen gather a mob to try and capture him. The Scarlet Spider falls through the roof of a temple and is soon swarmed by Newmen. As he fights them off, the spider is surprised by a humanoid jackal. This creature, known as Anubia, is the leader of the cult of the Jackal, who apparently worship the work of Miles Warren. Jackal groupies. She points out that the Scarlet Spider is the other Spider-Man, an object of their worship. She then confuses the hero by saying that he was once a man named Anthony Serba, whose DNA was altered with a genetic virus to make him a bio-duplicate of Spider-Man. Oh, we're going to clear that up by the end of this story, kids.
But can I just say though that I love this. I love this idea. I thought it was great. It's a great twist on of cloning and it's a mix of cloning and evolutionary, stuff. So yeah, it's cool.
Well, I mean, I won't get into it more at the end, but it's like, I think, it was the Evolutionary War. Yeah, High Evolutionary tells Peter, oh yeah, Miles Warren never cloned anybody. He just came up with this virus that changes one person into another. The Scarlet Spider doesn't know why a group of new men would worship the Jackal. He also corrects them on what they know about Miles Warren is wrong and tries to explain that the Jackal was a deranged scientist who cloned people. The worshippers of this cult view this as blasphemy. But Anubia calms them so she can tell the web spinner what she knows to be the truth. Anubia
and enter, shall we say, like exposition or origin telling now. It's a lengthy bit of sepia-toned, flashbacks.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of exposition in this, kids.
And Rey likes it long.
Anubia explains the origins of the Numen, hyper-evolved animals that were created by the High Evolutionary. She points out that the most human-looking of the bunch were two Numen known as Porga and Tagar, as they were the work of the High Evolutionary's assistant at the time, Professor Miles Warren, the man who had become the Jackal. Porga and Tagar soon become the subject of scorn from the jealous Numen, who envied their close resemblance to the Master. Whereas the High Evolutionary wanted to create a race of gods, it became apparent that Miles Warren only wanted to play God. As such, the Evolutionary had Miles Warren exiled from Wundagore. However, the damage was done and there was a schism among the new men. A faction grew to worship Miles Warren and remained behind on Earth when the High Evolutionary later left for the stars, which was in Thor 135, as the editor's note in the issue tells us. Miles Warren would return to these followers with his latest research and would experiment on them in the hopes of making them fully human. However, these experiments proved fatal to the creatures. Hearing all this, the Scarlet Spider theorizes to himself that this may have been an early prototype to the carrion virus. Anubia continues to say that Warren then began working on a means of creating new bodies for his worshippers in which he could transfer their minds into human bodies. That's when the Scarlet Spider speaks up, pointing out that he was only seeking to create a world of clones. However, Anubia refuses to believe that Miles Warren was anything but a decent man. She goes on to say that Warren left them for a number of years to continue his research. It was then that he returned as the Jackal, costuming himself as such so he would look more like his followers. He told them that he created perfect clones of Gwen Stacy and Spider-Man. He stayed long enough to collect more equipment and left shortly thereafter. That was when they erected a statue of the Jackal to worship. That's a statue that needs to be taken down. Not long after, the High Evolutionary returned to Earth and was furious that some of his new men worshipped Warren. Still, Anubia formed the cult of the Jackal, where they secretly worshipped the Jackal in secret. Nice sentence. They secretly worshipped him in secret. Okay. She then sent spies into the real world, where they learned about the apparent death of the Jackal, which was kind of like our first episode.
Yeah.
Learning of the existence of the cult and that they were holding a memorial service for Miles Warren, the High Evolutionary confronted Anubia and vowed to prove that Miles Warren was nothing more than a fraud. Exposition. Sometime this story is so it's like, hey, we're gonna tie up a bunch of stuff, including hey, remember when the High Evolutionary during the Evolutionary War said, "Oh yeah, there's no such thing as clones."
Yeah. I, to be honest, I really kind of enjoyed this bit here. It did explain a lot, and I like how it ties a lot of stuff together. And I think this is the most I've actually seen interaction between Miles Warren and the High Evolutionary, because we know that they have such a close relationship. So, this is one of the rare instances you actually see, the relationship, which is great.
Oh yeah, it all gets explained here. Yeah.
Mm.
All right, so sometime after this, the High Evolutionary captured the Gwen Stacy clone and conducted experiments upon her. He learned that she was actually a woman named Joyce Delaney, who was exposed to the genetic virus by Miles Warren, turning her into a genetic duplicate of Gwen Stacy. When the High Evolutionary presented this evidence to the cult of the Jackal, they did not believe it at first. They sent out more spies to look for the lost journals of Miles Warren. When they discovered them, they were horrified to discover that the diaries confirmed everything that the Evolutionary told them was true. Hearing all this, the Scarlet Spider finds it incredibly difficult to believe and wonders why, if this is all a deception. Still, part of him worries about what to do if it is true. Since Peter Parker was revealed to be the clone, if he is really Anthony Serba, the Spider wonders if Serba doesn't deserve getting his life back. And Anthony Serba, kid, was Miles Warren's lab assistant. So, but no, he didn't use the virus. He just killed him. Which brings the Spider to his next question. If the cult knows that Miles Warren was a fraud, why do they still worship him? Anubia explains that they still believe that the Jackal will bring about the golden age he promised them so many years ago. That's when the Scarlet Spider explains that Miles Warren did succeed and cloning is possible. This prompts Anubia to tell her followers that they must go to the Citadel of the High Evolutionary and learn the truth once and for all. It's not done yet, kids.
No. There's a lengthy bit of read here.
Disguising themselves with robes, the Scarlet Spider and members of the cult sneak into the facility through the sewers. That's where they are ambushed by the Animen who have been waiting for them to infiltrate the facility. Both factions find themselves evenly matched. However, the fight is quickly ended by the High Evolutionary, who demands that the battle end right away. When Anubia demands to know the truth about Miles Warren, the High Evolutionary uses his powers to devolve her to a normal Jackal. Furious, the Scarlet Spider demands that the Evolutionary restore Anubia to normal and tries to strike the High Evolutionary, but this doesn't even make the Master Geneticist flinch. The High Evolutionary then... I don't know if he's experimented on himself. I think, if nothing else, it's that armor.
Yeah, I mean, again, inconsistencies with comics. In the more recent Spider-Woman run, he was shown there, and he got tossed around and bashed around, seemed quite easily. So, might be some armor, might be, who knows, some sort of tech he's got here. Yeah.
The High Evolutionary then teleports himself and the Scarlet Spider to his ready room so they can discuss things man to man. He goes on to say that they are both victims of the Jackal, and that once he hears the truth, the Wallcrawler will realize that they are on the same side. The High Evolutionary starts by saying that he was responsible for creating the Jackal. He confirms that Miles Warren worked for him years ago, evolving animals into bipeds. However, when one of Warren's creations was a jackal that he made very humanoid, after the creature slaughtered local livestock, the High Evolutionary learned of Warren's unauthorized experiment and exiled him. Oh my god. You know what? I understand why Lilith wasn't here. I invited her when Matt Kona couldn't show up. I could just see her rolling her eyes through this. She's like,
oh, absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
See, Ray, you could have been front. You could have been front row for a classic Lilith Hellfire eye roll.
Yeah. This is definitely not up her alley, so.
So yes, the High Evolutionary learned of Warren's unauthorized experiment and exiled him. Warren went on to start a life of his own, getting married and having 2 children. Unfortunately, tragedy would befall Miles Warren as his man-Jackal escaped from the High Evolutionary's facility and tracked down his creator. Seeing Miles' new family, the creature became jealous and murdered Warren's wife and children, making it seem like a car accident.
Kind of like Frankenstein's monster thing. So, yeah.
Oh man, just the remember what was at Web 125? They're like, oh yeah, his family left, and I don't know if they came out and said it, but like they died in a car accident. But now they're adding on the man Jackal and all this other stuff.
They got man jackaled.
Oh, thank you for the drop. Lilith's gonna love that. Knowing the truth, Miles Warren returned to Wundagore and challenged the High Evolutionary for leadership of the New Men. He gathered worshippers by offering to clone human bodies for the New Men. The Scarlet Spider interjects for a moment to ask what happened to the Man-Jackal. The High Evolutionary doesn't know for sure, although he heard unconfirmed reports that the creature appeared in Canada. So I'm looking at the note here. The High Evolutionary statement here is an attempt to explain the Jackal, who claimed to be the son of Miles Warren and battled Alpha Flight in Alpha Flight 114.
Oh, nice tie. Nice tie in then. Yeah.
However, none of this has been conclusively confirmed, so. So, yes, the man Jackal may have showed up in Alpha Flight 114, kids. Maybe. I'll have to look that up. Then he goes on to say that the death of Warren's family and that of his assistant Anthony Serba sent Warren over the edge, causing him to create the Jackal identity. However, something about all of this doesn't ring true to the Scarlet Spider. The High Evolutionary continues by saying that he is against Warren's work because cloning stagnates evolution and he seeks to accelerate it. Mm-hmm. So there's the motive, kids. He then reveals that he fabricated the proof that Gwen Stacy and the spider clones were merely genetic constructs in order to keep the world from believing in the existence and continuing work on clones. The Joyce Delaney ruse was reinforced thanks to the interference of the new god known as Daydreamer. He figured that he would never have to cover up the truth of the spider clone because he believed it was dead. Now learning that this was not the case, the High Evolutionary realizes that he can do nothing more than but tell the truth. With that, the Evolutionary teleports himself and the Scarlet Spider back into the lab where the cult of the Jackal and the Animen are fighting once more. There he makes them stop fighting and uses his powers to return Anubia to her evolved form. There, the Evolutionary admits that he deceived his Newman, and his story is confirmed by the Scarlet Spider. However, the web-slinger explains that Miles Warren was only interested in creating a world of clones that were his own slaves. The High Evolutionary concludes that the destiny of the Newmen is not to become human, but to surpass humanity. With this all sorted out, the Evolutionary teleports the Scarlet Spider back to New York. There, he finds himself back in the Jackal's lab, where he wakes up Jacob Raven. That's when both men realize that Kaine is still alive and is on the loose again. We'll get to that.
I love that little last. Yes,
we'll get
I like that little last.
Yeah,
and that just you can see the gloop just kind of going towards the stairs and kind of up the stairs. So very exciting. But yeah, what an issue, hey? You know, how's your throat there, Phil? There's a lot of.
I know.
But you know, as I mentioned earlier, for the most part, well, number one, I really enjoyed how we got two sides of the legend that is Miles Warren. You know, so we get from the was it the cult of the Jackal? We get them talking about it and how they revere him, and it kind of semi-explains his look as the Jackal, and then we get kind of the High Evolutionary take on it and his reasons why the Jackal is dressed up as the Jackal, that sort of stuff. So yeah. I like how you kind of play between the two because they're very devout. Like we kind of know, as a reader, having read the past issues with the Jackal, you kind of know he doesn't seem like a nice guy. You know, there's something a bit askew with him. Yeah. But it was fun anyway to get all these tie-ins and this explanation. I mean, I love this whole idea about Anthony Stuber and Joyce Delaney being kind of like almost plastic surgery, you know, of massive form, extreme form of it. They get turned into Spider-Man and Gwen Stacy instead of it being like a clone. I just love that kind of, at least an attempt at trying to fool us as the reader.
Oh yeah, and I mean, yeah, the High Evolutionary, he made his claims. Oh, there's no clones. That was Spectacular Spider-Man Annual 8, part of the Evolutionary War, and then Spectacular Spider-Man 149. Peter finds Miles Warren's journal in like his old lab, and the one where it says, "Oh no, I didn't clone. I just came up with this virus that mutates people." So,
yeah. And tying it in, obviously, the genesis or the precursor to the carrion virus as well. And at the same time, if you're a casual reader and you kind of get a nice little summation of the High Evolutionary as well and what he aims to do. And I like what he said about cloning stagnates evolution, whereas he aims to progress, people. So that's a defining difference between and I've got to point out these two colleagues, which Jonathan Drew worked with him, the father of Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman. Yep. But these colleagues, Herbert Wyndham and Miles Warren, all kind of doing stuff, geneticists, the same thing. So, yeah, it's good.
So, I mean, the High Evolutionary has encountered a lot of superheroes. I think it depends who's writing him, but sometimes he seems almost sinister. But do you think he's a villain or no, he's just like a scientist?
Yeah, he comes across as, for me, as a villain. But it's not as much as, say, Mr. Sinister, who kind of does, the same thing. He seems pretty bad, Bone. There is something, the high evolutionary, something purely scientific that he's doing, and it's kind of that mold of, I'm on a different plane of thinking to normal people. Like, I've gone beyond humanity, so to speak, and he's trying to further science. But I don't know. Do you think him as a villain, or?
I don't think he's like a classic villain. I just think he has like his goals in mind, and it's like if anyone gets in his way, he's just like, I don't care. I'm going to go through. I'll just go around you. I'll go through you. But he's basically a narcissist more than a villain. He's like, my plan is the plan. There's no other.
Yeah, I mean, like he experiments and stuff, and the stuff that he does, it's not like he's looking to take over the world. He even goes to the stars. He even actually goes away and tries to seclude himself from humanity and just wants to do his work. So it's not like he wants to take over anything or destroy anything. Yeah, he's just someone that's really driven for what he wants to do.
Yeah, because that's what they showed. I mean, that's what they were even saying. Like the Jackal wanted to create an army of clones that, all worshipped him. Yeah, the High Evolutionary just doesn't care. He's like, I just want to, he wants to be the guy who evolves humanity, I guess.
Yeah, and that's the big difference between Miles Warren and the High Evolutionary, which is also in the mix. It's pretty cool because Anubia and all that. She seems for me, she seems likable. She's not like terrible, but maybe just blind faith, a bit naive, I guess, with that. But again, I like the story about how Miles Warren comes back dressed as the Jackal because he wants to kind of show them that he wants to fit in with them, kind of thing, which is a nice little interpretation of why he dresses up as the Jackal. So
Anubia.
They're really making excuses for him.
I mean, Anubia and the New Men. Yeah, no, I think as we've seen in the world, in the last year or two, it's like if someone spouts enough lies enough times, people will start to believe it.
Yeah, exactly. And this was I mean, if anything, I didn't mind it at all. If you look at this again, Scarlet Spider, Ben Reilly, he's really only there to take in all the information. I mean, he goes and infiltrates the High Evolutionary's headquarters and stuff. But the most part, as you had read out, Phil, a lot of it's a recount. So I'm sure if you look at the page count, there's probably minimal Ben Reilly again here, but it's good because it really does strengthen the backstory, the Clone Saga, Miles Warren in particular, but then we get the High Evolutionary, and I think it's fun to see the Animen and the New Men. They're as forgettable as they might be, and as Ben Reilly said, I think in this issue, you're really scraping the bottom of the barrel with your names and your team. They're fun. They're good.
I mean, I find it like that one line Ben throws out where he's like, "Oh, what did my clone do while I've been gone?" Because I mean, as far as Ben's concerned at this point, he was Spider-Man for the first 150 issues of Amazing, and then after that, because he's like, "Man, I used to just fight like criminals." He's like, "Well, my clone was like fighting guys like the High Evolutionary and stuff." He's like, "Man."
Yeah. Very, very cool, interesting stuff. It's just I remember reading this, and it's a big mega size issue, and we get a whole heap of sepia tone because of the recounting from Anubia. Then Scarlet Spider interacts with High Evolutionary. We go back into the sepia. I'm going, oh gosh, this is just like flashback after flashback. But no, it's good. It's always good to see the High Evolutionary. I can't remember too much from the High Evolutionary War other than the ending with him and Hercules. That awesome kind of
that Avengers
elevated. Yeah, it's almost like godhood or something. They become one with the universe or something. It's really weird, but he's got a good aesthetic. The High Evolutionary as well.
I know, man. For purple armor, I mean that could look way worse. But I mean, yeah. But yeah, like you were kind of mentioned, it's like, we got a lot of exposition, and this wasn't even a normal size issue. This was probably at least twice the size,
twice.
Scarlet Spider Unlimited with no backups. This filled the whole issue, so this was probably like 64 pages or something.
Yeah, and this from largely, as you mentioned at the beginning, a team we're unfamiliar with. Who was the writer again? Glenn Herdling.
Yeah.
I think he did a very good job, actually.
Yeah.
Like, you know, yeah. I mean, I've never heard of the guy since. Have you? Or
The name sounds familiar, but I can't remember where I heard it. So, I mean, it's not like it's something or, you know, it jumps right out at you. But, yeah, I mean, tying all those, you know, plot threads together. Hold on. I'm looking this up.
yeah, I think he's done really well. And it was enjoyable enough read. It wasn't as if, like, we're just reading facts, you know what I mean? Like, he's integrated it really well. He had a cast of thousands to deal with, like High Evolutionary, Anubia, Scarlet Spider, recount of Miles Warren, but their whole team of Newman and Anymen, then bouncing that with Jacob Raven and Kaine. So he had a lot to work with, but I think he did really well.
Oh, yeah. I guess he was an editor too, but I pulled this up. I guess he must have wrote some. He wrote an issue of What If, Uncanny. He wrote some Uncanny X-Men, Spectacular Spider-Man Annual, Marvel Comics Presents, and Avengers, and Namor the Submariner. Yeah, and then an Avengers Ultra Force crossover or something. Yeah, so I don't know if he was like a fill-in guy, like they needed like a fill-in. He was like an editor, and then he just like, you know, filled in when they needed him or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think he did really well. And even the art as well. I don't know what you thought of the art, but I thought it was quite well done as well. I mean, again, not, you know, we're not talking top tier, but for the most part, it was quite enjoyable.
Yeah, no, for what it was, yeah, I liked it, especially the cover. I like the cover on this.
Oh, the cover was great as well. Yeah,
even though it really didn't tell you much about the story, you know.
No, not at all. But you know, as you said, the last bit, Kaine, I mean, that was all important to set up for future issues. He's all loose again. He must have regenerated, recharged in that containment pod.
Oh, yeah, kids. Yeah, we'll get to that next year. Kaine returns in the middle of the great game. What is that? You'll find out.
Oh. But yeah, some cool moments as well of, I like that kind of, it's, you know, semi-stereotype of Ben Reilly hitching a ride to teleportation and being zapped to Wundagore, because that's kind of like he's on his own, truly. He's in a world where everyone's probably, well, we're out to get him before they start worshipping him. You know, some of the factions, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking through this. Yeah, I mean, the art's not bad considering, you know.
It's not bad, no.
Pretty good. I mean, again, like I wasn't too familiar with any of these names, but they did a pretty good job on this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even Lilith Hellfire would have enjoyed it.
I don't know.
That's a tall order. That's a tall order. All right. So
unless she likes the High Evolutionary, then I think if you like the High Evolutionary, I think you'd really enjoy this issue. Sorry.
I don't know if she's overly. Probably depends who writes it, who what story he's in, who would be writing it. Probably because I don't know if she has feelings either way about High Evolutionary.
I mean, he's not top tier. I mean, he's well known for comic book readers, but he flits in and out of titles. You hardly see him. So yeah.
Oh man, they should do some kind of crossover with the High Evolutionary soon. I mean, we could. Ben Reilly's coming back. You could bring in Ben Reilly. You could bring in Jessica Drew. I mean,
that'd be so cool. I'd love to see Ben Reilly and Jessica Drew together. Just interesting to see how they'd interact. Yeah.
I'm interested to see how a lot of people, I was even telling Lilith, like how Miles Morales interacts with him. You know, I'm just waiting for Ben to be like, I'm not Peter.
Yeah. Oh, that would be very interesting. He kind of, yeah. I was about to say that, but that's more so in Spider-Woman. He kind of gets left set aside from the main Spider people. Mm-hmm. But yeah, be cool to see. And whether or not, you know, judging from the Peter David run, he had all that kind of all that baggage with mental, you know, being killed over 100 times or something. Yeah, interesting to see what he. So have you been reading the Iron Man one? How was he portrayed in that?
I mean, he doesn't get a ton to do, but I mean, he seems pretty even keeled, pretty normal. So I mean,
okay,
yeah. I think they kind of cured him in what was that Spider-Geddon? You know, at the end of that, he's like, "Oh, I'm normal again." You know.
Oh, okay. yeah. I read that. I can't remember that part of it. But,
yeah, it was real quick. It was a couple. It was like a panel or two at the end. He's like, "Oh yeah, I don't know if it was Superior Spider-Man or somebody." It's like, "Oh, he cured me."
Yeah, I'm planning to do a reread of Spider-Verse. I absolutely love that when it first came out. So I've got the complete collection all bound up. So I want to read all through that, and I want to read Spider-Geddon again because that was fun. It wasn't as good as in Spider-Verse, but it was decent.
So you said you aren't reading the current Amazing Spider-Man?
No, I'd like to. It's just I generally just wait for. So I'm behind. When I say I'm not reading, I just wait on Marvel Unlimited. Yeah. But that's yeah.
Well, it's been going on for like 2 or 3 years now. Do you have any idea who Kindred is?
Oh no, I'm actually really behind. I'm only up to the bit where Spider-Man and J. Jonah Jameson talking about podcasting.
Yeah,
so that's quite. Yeah. That's a bit behind still, but no Kindred. No. I know that was a big thing. So
well, he claims he's Harry Osborn, but we'll see.
Oh, okay, right.
All right. Oh, did we give any grades on this for this issue? The Unlimited issue?
Yeah, I don't know. Look, I think it's quite fun. I'd give it a bit more. I'd maybe say I'd give it a B, compared to like the B- that we gave for the last arc. To be better, I don't know. I like this recounting. I wasn't expecting this amount of recounting. But going through it, particularly going through it again, I think it's just pretty nifty how they try and tie things together, and you get those two perspectives of Miles Warren. So yeah, I'll give it a B. It was pretty good.
I mean, yeah, it was pretty good. I might have to go with my B- again. I thought it was pretty good, but it's like, again, I think you even mentioned it's like I could have used a little more Ben Reilly in this, but it was a lot of exposition and info dumping. Yeah.
Yeah, and absolutely. You'd have to have a triple-sized book to actually start getting Ben in there, But yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. And the front cover misleading. We don't even see Kaine, that sort of stuff. But yeah.
Just at the beginning and that tease at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Where did he go? All right, so we done? Should I let everyone know what we're doing next time, including Ray?
Yeah, sure. I'm keen to hear.
All right. So next week, kids, for September, because over on Comic Capers, we're going to be doing X-Men or every other week. So here, next episode, we'll be covering Marvel Team Up Annual #1 with Spider-Man and the X-Men.
Ooh, nice.
Like
nice.
the all new, all different X-Men, Wolverine, Colossus, Storm, Nightcrawler.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then in 2 weeks we'll be covering Giant Size Spider-Man #2. because it's September, and who makes an appearance in that issue? Mr. Shang-Chi.
Oh yeah.
I knew Ray would like that. Yes.
Very much looking forward to the film coming out, and been loving the comics as well. The Shang-Chi comics coming out.
And then in 3 weeks we'll be back. X-Men. There was an X-Men Spider-Man miniseries that will cover those 4 issues, and then of course in 1 month back for Scarlet Spider. We will be covering Virtual Morality from Web of Scarlet Spider #1, Amazing Scarlet Spider #1, Scarlet Spider #1, and Spectacular Scarlet Spider #1.
Oh, get rid of Spider-Man. It's all a Scarlet Spider.
They kind of did like a 2-month thing then, kind of like that when X-Men did Age of Apocalypse. They did that, 2 months of Scarlet Spider books. That's good. I like it. But yes, as you can tell from the title, yes, the virtual reality. We'll be back, kids.
Cyberspace.
Does it get merged with reality? Got to tune in and find out.
Oh.
All right, so send your thoughts on all of that, or hey, what did you think of this issue? Email us capesandlunatics@gmail.com, or call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38 capes. And remember to follow Ultimate Spider Cast on Facebook, Twitter. Find links to our YouTube channel. You can watch this video. Please subscribe. Oh my god, I looked a day or two ago. I think we were at 168 subscribers. So Lil Hellfire demands we need one more subscriber. At least. So please go subscribe to YouTube if you have not. Find links to the Patreon. More and more stuff going up there. Movie reviews, uncensored comic book reviews. I know Lil Hellfire and I did talk about, we were going to talk about, maybe in September we might talk that whole Batman Catwoman topic.
Oh, the marriage?
No, taking the elevator to the basement. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh.
Well,
I think so.
It's edited. I can't say it, Ray. I can't say oral sex. I can't say oral sex, Ray.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So find that on the Patreon. Hopefully in September. And then find links to the merch. Stay hydrated. Keep in touch. All in one place. That's Linktree, linktr.ee/capesandlunatics. And please support all things Southgate Media Group. Go to southgatemediagroup.com. Please go check out and subscribe to the Southgate Media Group YouTube channel. Go, if you can, subscribe to the Southgate Media Group Patreon. There's free and paid content there. And of course, pick up Pod Life the book, now in digital and paperback. And when you go on Amazon for that, use the link for Southgate Media Group right down there in the show notes. Help us support this show, the network, and that half-man, half-animal Rob Master Doom Southgate.
Make it rain, so says Master Doom. What did you say? Mark my words.
I don't want to say he's wild like an animal. Well, there's someone else we know who's wild like an animal.
Wild like an animal.
All right, Ray. Tell everyone the story of your many, many podcasts. Expo Dump.
Yeah, the Expo Dump now, coming right at you in sepia tone. You can catch me on Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast, on all social media platforms, but also on To Know Her Is to Fear Her, a Spider-Woman podcast, very relevant to what we just covered now with the High Evolutionary, as we mentioned before. And also Last Sons of Krypton, a Superman podcast. Nothing really Superman related in that Scarlet Spider Unlimited, but check it out because they're both red and blue. And anyway, the best way to contact me always is on Twitter. I'm on all the other ones as well. But if you just want to talk about anything, or if you want to talk about Moon Knight, Scarlet Spider, Spider-Woman, and Superman all in one hit, it's at Ray Pod, REY Pod, and that's on Twitter, and I'm happy to chat.
Sounds like a plan, Jan.
Who was that? Sounded like a younger, more vigorous Ray.
Whoa!
Rumpy Pumpy.
I love Batman.
Oh, jeez. Don't put those two drops together, Phil. That just doesn't...
Get you in the mood, huh? Alright, kids. Thank you for joining us. Again, come back in 1 week. We'll Hellfire and Focus Spider-Man X-Men team up. Team up annually, #1. And of course, Ray will be back in 1 month.
Yeah, baby.
Right. But until then, kids, swing on that.
I am Connor from the House of L.
And I am Ray from the House of Zod.
We are two of the many, many survivors of Krypton's destruction, and we have made our home in Australia, and dare I say, have become Australians, for better or worse. But we have also decided to read Superman comics, read Superman books, watch Superman shows, cartoons, movies, basically everything Superman, and from an Australian perspective as well. Whether you're a seasoned fan, like me,
or whether you are coming in fresh, wide-eyed and wanting to learn more like me, then this podcast is for you. Join us for our bi-weekly adventures available on all good podcast catchers.
So just search for Last Sons of Krypton, a Superman podcast. We'll be coming to you from Australia or some cosmic dimension, wherever we are that week. Up,
and away.